As I have mentioned, creativity and its result is a unique experience that deserves visibility and support, and to challenge the very fabric of our expectations and perceptions. In this context, I draw on the Australian much-loved but misguided cliché such as the lucky country, as a viewfinder into the creative world, as the creative world is absolutely not represented in the true blue thumbs-up tradition as we accolade towards our much-loved Victorian sports and imported mainstream media from America. One of the most interesting aspects of creating in Victoria is our uniqueness to redefine and create systems of expression that are essentially Victorian. These ideas are not always laden by the pressure of European artistic modes of expression or those legacies imported from other states of Australia. This is the reason why I decided to move my studio to Victoria. Considering the hallmarks of Victoria's unique colonial legacy and struggle, mixed with its present-day rich, multifaceted cultures, I'm always curious how we continue to define and redefine our cultural legacy, whilst also pushing forward with experimental and critical work. Though how visible is the non-mainstream component, and how are collaborations and cross-institutional support developed as they have internationally and interstate? How are the other centres doing in our creative industry? Do we know them? Are they afforded financial and conceptual freedom to run far and broad to produce unique engagements for artists to redefine and invigor movements? Or is this seen within a mainstream as anarchy? I am in total support of keeping traditions alive, as I've said before, but I firmly believe that the way in which the idea of the Creative Institute defines our cultural legacy needs to be rethought, to allow fresh and new forms of expression that are authentic to the Victorian experience today. One which allows engagement into movements that are often lost or struggle without the privilege to flourish as traditional elements of Western culture does. After all, we are in a unique position in our post-colonial society to absolutely challenge and establish the establishment and what and how creativity expresses the very congeniality of our inherited traditions and art forms, or to reject them altogether. To reject is a creative privilege and should not be punished for its difference. As an artist who actively engages with local and international historical and political projects, I continue to support and encourage debate surrounding issues that are not always mainstream or easy. For me, the idea of fear is encouraging, but not in ways that have been sought through recent political campaigns espousing a community safety and scaremongering attitude. I'm speaking clearly here of current policies drafted for artists not allowed to use images of children, for example. To engage effectively in creativity is to be able to have a venue and attitude aimed at rewards for understanding process and reason for expression and representation, not a process driven by outdated fear and misidentified claims. A process that wants more from the usual trope of the struggling or bad artist. But then again, Caravaggio was a raging, murdering homosexual, and the regular Robin Hood, but we all flock to see his paintings today. I find it interesting how many fellow overseas creatives are shocked by the lack of support and status the artist has in our country. And when I mention this, I don't mean that there is a demise or there is a kind of a sadness, but it's about going overseas, travelling interstate, and actually having that recognition, being able to be on a level platform and have those discussions, have that collaboration and interdisciplinary practice. So I'll start again. I find it interesting how many fellow overseas creatives are shocked by the lack of support and status the artist has in our country, and how people study to be an artist assistant as a job, not for a part-time job till they become a real artist. Many overseas students are studying to be assistants, and there are institutions that provide undergraduate assistance to professionals, creatives that benefit both artist and student, and also benefit those who do prefer to go on to be an established artist. After all, to be mentored by a strong community leader or the assistant to artists, for example, Patricia Piccinini or musician Richard Tognetti, is a dream for many. And since when was success as an artist such a failure? Redefining how we engage with creativity and the people who make it is the first step. The mainstream public may well know by now the long hours creatives work and how little money there is available for the arts. Internationally respected identities like Kate Blanchett may be quoted in all and many newspapers about the dire situation of Australian theatre. Kate's words can be supplanted for the support of the local poet. How does this effectively inspire change in policy in the public mind? Playing statistics over again and again for the little amount creatives make on their art platform will not make solid and strong a Victorian arts movement. We need engagement. There are equally sufficient debates that have risen over why creatives leave our shores for growth and recognition in Paris, London, Berlin, Tokyo, New York, etc. The tough challenge is how do we not only support those who wish to leave or have the cross-international life, but also those who choose to stay local. Creativity cannot always be contained in rational thought and institutes. It needs to run free, to fail and be tested, to offer funding without conditions where politicians and mainstream control what and how art is created is the true zeitgeist for expression and inspiration. We don't need a wall to be pulled down or a tower to fall for our Renaissance. We have experience and live with our colonial legacy and local stories of industry and sports. It is now the right time for consolidating Victoria's creative adventure. The Cité International des Arts in Paris is a foundation directed to the public benefit since 1957. It is related to a vast network of partners and associates. Its founders include a large number of states, schools, institutes, universities and ministries from close to 50 countries all across the world. 3 of its historical founders and key partners are the City of Paris, the Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Imagine if there was an equal to the Cité des Arts here in Melbourne, with international creatives flocking to our city, mixing with local and international artistic practices. Los Angeles is arguably another example, where many compete to go to the very famous and prestigious art schools. Victoria needs an injection of legacy competition. International engagement and collaboration is a powerful tool for a thriving creative city, a central place where creatives are encouraged to gather and create. As an artist who prides myself on casting a net and seeing what drags back, I encourage you all to cast that net today, but don't be so adamant to hang on to the contents. Maybe cast the net to inspire and connect, to allow for freedom of expression and experimentation. To explore collision is important for creativity. The desire for some to censor artists is dangerous and only takes us down a path of misunderstanding and fear, as I've mentioned before, rather than an active community sharing ideas. To challenge current modes of perception is often the job of the artist. The Victoria arts movement is tiny in comparison to international cities, though we do not need to compare with this. Victorians need to lead the creative fields and reach out and beyond our borders, we as the centre. In some cases, it is essential to travel great distances for an international audience, which consists of not only great travel expanses, but also a bridge that cannot always be crossed independently. To have a presence overseas and in our country is no mean feat. It requires some to have international lives, and this deals again with expenses. Many use their own monies to provide a bulk of their creative production and work longer hours to sustain it. I am in support of a tax break or other subsidies for creatives. Holland and Ireland have similar support policy and are world leaders. As you can tell by the tone of my address, I aim at a culture of support for an established Victorian art movement, for the arts and a strong vision to trust the creative dynamites and dynamics already established, and to create room for those up and coming, and to invite contingencies as, for example, Gertrude Street Gallery currently already does, where they invite curators internationally. I met with a curator from the Maori Museum the other day. This kind of engagement would not happen otherwise, and we need more of it. Victorian art scene needs to be a place where people want to stay, create, mentor and be. We need a culture of trust in creative professionals and policy makers, greater recognition of arts professionals in the Victorian cultural landscape, and to understand that at times our production won't always be for everyone, but we should be trying to bridge the gap through education and support. I wish us all the best of luck today as we cast our nets wide to make solid the cultural landscape Victorians have always believed in. And this is dedication and belief. Let's share our stories. Thank you.